All righty. Welcome everyone. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Emmy Tither. I'm the K-12 Education Program Coordinator at the Latin American and Iberian Institute at the University of New Mexico. I'm also joined by our fantastic graduate assistants, Madeline Griffin and Jasmine Morse. Today, we're going to be kind of giving an overview of the K-12 resources that we offer. This is kind of a general information session. Usually in our workshops, we have kind of a bit more interactivity. This will be a little bit different, mainly presentation, although we might have a few kind of like questions going on. But it's really just to provide an overview of what we do and how to access what we do and how we can better serve the K-12 educator community, both here in New Mexico and beyond. And next slide, thank you so much. So bit of info about the LAII. What do we do in K-12 outreach? So we offer a wide range of curricular materials and related resources to support teaching about Latin America and Iberia in K-12 classrooms. This involves both Latin American and Iberian culture and languages. And the materials that we offer are kind of relevant across grade levels and subject areas, with many activities serving as introductions to topics. Oh, hi, Monica. Lovely to see you. Thank you so much for being here. We have a small audience, but we're recording this to put us on our website, but it's lovely to see you. And next slide, whenever you're ready. Thanks so much. So the Latin American and Iberian Institute, we're just one of various kind of resource centers around the country, providing information and programming on kind of various areas of the world. There are other Latin American studies centers throughout the US. We have a list of those, some of those, hopefully all of those, but definitely some of those on our Vamos a LAII blog, which we'll get into in a bit later on in this presentation. But just a list of other Latin American study centers throughout the US. There are other NRCs who cover other areas of the world, including kind of East Asia, Eastern Europe, Sub-Saharan Africa, Northern Africa, and whatnot. Those are kind of easy to find. There isn't sadly no central hub of those, but they are easy to find online. But we do provide this link if that is helpful to kind of find other Latin American content. And now, speaking of the Vamos a LAII blog, I will pass it on to Jasmine, who's going to give an overview of that blog.
All right, let me see why I can't go. Oh, now it's probably going to skip forward a million slides, but let's hope it stays here. If you can everyone see the slide that says Vamos a LAII? Great. So as Emmy mentioned, we have a blog called Vamos a LAII. It's on WordPress. And on our blog, you can find book guides and book reviews, educator guides, local events. We like to kind of foster educator engagement on there if we can. That's something that we haven't really excelled at so far, and so maybe educators can help us do that more. And then you can find news about Latin American and Iberian Institute and events that we host there. So I'm just going to take us to the website. The bulk of what we have right now on the website are book reviews, which I'll show you. I'm going to take us there. Okay. Can everyone see the website? Cool. So this is our blog, and Maddie's going to post the link in the chat, but you'll also have access to this presentation on our website. So this is where you go right when you click that link, just kind of about the LAII, and then current contributors. So Maddie, myself, and our coworker Whitney, and then past contributors if you're interested. We have educator guides here, which are really nice and kind of comprehensive. So these are what we call the book guides, which are based on a book, and those are kind of more comprehensive in that they have lesson plans, classroom activities, additional resources, differentiation options for your classes. And so I'm just going to click on one of these to give you an example of what I'm talking about here. So this is a guide for Poncho Rabbit and the Coyote. And then these are, like I said, going to be more comprehensive. So it has a bunch of activities, grade levels, awards for the book, about the author, and then classroom relevance. So as you can see, then you'll find the lesson plans and the activities down below. So these, some of them were produced by the LAII K-12, and others are kind of our partners or other institutions that have created work on certain books. So let me see. How do I get back to where I was? That's the question. Here we go. Okay, so those are the educator guides. You can also look down here, our most popular themes. So if you're interested in approaching a certain theme, you can click on any of these and see what we have to offer on the blog. And like I said, mostly right now we're doing book reviews, which are kind of fun and they are much of your time to read. It's just books that we have read. We just give a little summary and some feedback on it. And then usually up here, you'll have age, language, and region that the book's in. So you can just quickly see which book reviews would apply to your students. And then we'll always have additional resources down here. And what we're trying to do, which we did last year, was ask a kind of engagement question for educators, like how would you use this in your classroom? What do you think of this content? Something along those lines. So if you are interested in more kind of educator kind of networking and engagement, I encourage you, next post that we leave, just leave a comment here in response to the questions that we leave, so we can just kind of start a little bit of dialogue on these books and get y'all a little more involved. So that is our Vamos a Leer blog. Again, you can search by theme. We have, you know, authors, announcements, and all of this. The categories are a really nice way to search for particular things that you're interested in. And so let's go on to our next slide. This is the Latin American and Iberian Institute's K-12 Outreach website. So this is where you're going to get the bulk of our like lesson plans and more comprehensive resource packets. And again, Maddie's going to put the link to this in the chat so that you can look at it if you want. So here, this link's going to take you to the full list of our resources. We have them organized here in content areas. So the content areas are social studies, English language arts, foreign language, STEM, science, tech, engineering, math, art, and then English language learners. And then we also have those broken down into regions. So a lot of these, like these lesson plans, will be in multiple categories because they kind of have a broad reach. And then so it's kind of nice because you can search, if you're a social studies teacher, you're looking for content within that area. We have all of these different options here. And then you can also, which not all of our lesson plans and resource packets on here have grades, but we're working on getting those included. So it's just a little easier search and you don't have to kind of figure that out for yourself because there is a lot. We have Mexican Revolution, Afro-Latinidad, STEM, Stitching Resistance, Conquest, colonialism, that the list goes on. And so we also have over here in the left kind of bar, you have thematic guides. So if you're like, you know what, I don't know if I want to do like STEM or social studies, but I'm interested in just the revolution, for example, or Afro-Latinidad, you can click this link and that will bring you to a workshop that we did the year before last. And it's broken down into different themes. So cultural traditions, Afro-Latinx figures, and Afro-Mexicanidad. And then there's different, these are all lesson plans broken down into grade and kind of region here. We also have podcast guides, if that's something that you feel like you want to incorporate into your classroom. Radio Ambulante is basically the bulk of our podcast guides, but we just did one on This American Life, their award-winning episode that will be up here soon. Film guides, literature guides. Again, these literature guides are going to be like the ones that are on our blog, but they're going to be more in depth. So here it may be an easier place to find them because you just get a picture of the book and then kind of a synopsis right here without having to click. And then it's broken down into grades. So that's kind of an easy search for educators. So again, there's the STEM guides, lots of fun stuff on here. Covering a lot of different subjects and grade levels. So I encourage you to check our website out, which we can do the website challenge right now. If Helen and Monica, you want to do that. I know that we are a small group and Helen's beating. So I don't know if you want to do it, but if you do, you can click the link that Maddie is putting into the chat, and that's going to take you to our website, which we just looked at. And then you can just take a few minutes to go through there and just pick one that you think would be interesting or would fit for your classroom or something that you would want to incorporate. And then we can just chat about it and you can just tell us why you picked that one and how you might use it in your class. So let's take 3 to 5 minutes to just sort of browse around there. And it doesn't really have to be something that you want to use in your class, maybe just a subject that stuck out to you or something like that. And we can just have a little short chat so you don't have to listen to me talk endlessly. All right, so 3 to 5 minutes.
Awesome, thank you. While that's happening, I just want to add one more thing. If you are based in New Mexico, we have various book boxes of certain kind of classroom book sets that haven't been used very much because of the pandemic, but we do have them, and we're hopefully maybe going back in person to a certain degree. So if you are based in New Mexico, particularly in the Albuquerque area, we do have those, and those are also, as Jasmine showed, listed on the left. But yes, I'll stop talking for a second. Thank you so much, Jasmine. That was awesome. Let's take like another 90 seconds or so. Once you found a resource that you think is interesting, just stick it in the chat box. And yeah, looking forward to chatting about it. Oh, I see Monica has a question. Is 30 books a book set or less? I believe it is 30. I think there might be like minor variation.
Okay.
In each book set, but I believe kind of our benchmark is 30. That's a very good question. Thanks, Monica.
Okay.
Okay, should we bring it back? Have we found something? Does anyone want to share something that they found on the LAII website?
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Monica.
I'm Monica, and I hold a leadership position with an organization, a volunteer organization that mentors Latina youth, 6th grade through 12th grade. And then the idea is they move on to career training or college. And one of the key aspects is to always include cultural references, literature, historical references, anything. And since I took the position 3 years ago, that has been a challenge for me. However, now that I've hooked into LAII, I cannot believe the amount of resources So this has been a breath of fresh air. And so I'm looking at literature because another pillar of our community organization is literature. And we want to expose and promote literature that touches on their heritage. And so knowing that you have book sets is exciting, because knowing our students are in school, and also they're probably in sports and all kinds of wonderful things as youth should be. We want to make sure we have enough books both for the adults and the students. We don't necessarily have to buy them, we just have to have them available. So I'm definitely looking at those kind of literature, but also that have brings awareness, because another pillar is advocacy and understanding the history legislatively that has brought people of color through the spectrum of rights, freedoms, equity, the challenge that's still going on. So this is wonderful, like teaching about the Bracero program, you know, all those things that we can infuse that advocacy for people whose voice has been dimmed because of the color of their skin or their country of origin. So that's very exciting to me.
Awesome. Great, Monica. We're really happy to have you here, and your work sounds super, super important and meaningful, and you came to the right place. Woohoo. You should definitely get involved with those, the book sets. We want to get those used. They're just sitting around collecting dust. So help us with that. And yes, we have a lot of like the Bracero program, and we have a lot of immigration. We have activism, immigration and activism lesson plans, the Para Todos, which Emmy's going to talk about later, but that's something, those lesson plans are really great in getting students thinking about like activism and what it means to belong, and all of those kinds of things. So there's lots of different resources that we have. Helen, do you want to share something?
Certainly. I'm a librarian, and I'm also the person who chooses the elementary level books for the New Mexico Battle of the Books. So I'm always looking for good books for 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th graders that have Latino, Hispanic characters. So I'm, and also just, you know, books to use in as a librarian with the elementary schools where I work. So I definitely will be checking out the book reviews.
Awesome. That's great. And that's a good place to like just get a quick synopsis. And the majority, if not all of those books have like a Latin American protagonist or Chicano, Chicana, all of those themes. So that's a really good place to dive in. Thanks for sharing, Helen.
Thank
And,
you.
Emmy, do you have anything to add? I think the next slide is my STEM, if I can get it to go. Let's see.
Yeah, no, that was fantastic. Thank you, Helen and Monica, for sharing, and thank you so much, Jasmine, for giving such a comprehensive overview of everything we do. We're gonna, as Jasmine has mentioned, we're gonna pivot now and just kind of give a quick overview of some of our resources. As you've seen, we have a lot, but we're just gonna give a quick overview of some of our personal favorites, and then we'll kind of move into something else. But I'll pass it back on to Jasmine.
Thanks, Emmy. So I clicked on the link in our website. I know I did it kind of quick. So if you didn't memorize how to get to the Women in STEM, that's okay. But I encourage you to figure out how to get there, browse around. We have about 6 or 7 STEM lesson plans, and all of those are women in STEM. And they are from all over. This one is my personal favorite, just because Berta Cáceres is amazing, and her story is really powerful. And so here's just a little screenshot of the first page of the lesson plan. So this one involves a film activity with comprehensive comprehension questions. The film is Berta Didn't Die, She Multiplied. So students get to watch kind of a documentary-ish film, and then as they're watching, they will answer comprehension questions to kind of engage them, get them really critically thinking about Berta and environmental activism in Latin America. And then they'll dive into the Civic Council of Popular Indigenous Organizations of Honduras. They'll look at their website and kind of try and decipher what they're all about. What do they do? How can you get involved? And then there's a call to action exercise, which I think is really important to get students thinking about like activism and how can they get involved, even from far away. So that is one Women in STEM lesson plan that we offer. Again, this gets students thinking about activism and what is environmental activism and women and women's roles in those movements and women as leaders. This one, Berta, is for grades 8 through 10, but it could be differentiated for younger or older. Okay, next slide. Any questions on that one? Okay.
Awesome. So the next kind of resource guide and lesson plan conglomeration that we're going to briefly talk about is one that's really close to my heart because it was the first kind of workshop and resource creation that I participated in when I started in this role last year. But For All Para Todos is a picture book by Alejandra Domensain. And it's a book about the story of a young girl and her father who migrate, and it looks at their story kind of across several years as Flor grows up. This is one of the books that we have a book set on. We have a resource guide. We also have accompanying lesson plans for primary and secondary, although with differentiation. These lesson plans can be taught at different age levels. The primary lesson plan focuses on the intersection between art and activism, and the secondary lesson plan focuses on the intersection between immigrants' rights and worker rights. Now, excitingly, we were lucky enough to be able to run a workshop with Alejandra. And that recording is available on our website, as well as a panel discussion that the LAII, as well as a few other organizations, the Cesar Chavez Foundation, if I can remember correctly, participated in, that was run by Unidos US. We also kind of talked about how to teach migration, workers' rights, immigrant rights in the classroom. And I really recommend kind of checking all those resources out. It's quite comprehensive all together, all these resources put together. And like I mentioned, it is one that's very close to my heart. And even though this is a picture book, it can definitely be taught across grade levels. There are themes that kind of, resonate across ages. Yeah, all that to say, as a reminder, we do have a book set of these in case anyone would like to borrow them. I will now, actually, before I pass it on to Maddie, who's going to give a quick overview of 2 of our other resources, any questions I can answer about this one?
No question, but I really think it's perfect for right now because our students who watch TV or drive around town see the billboards up. Our state fair parade had several floats that had political floats, right? People running for office, and our town, our governor is running for re-election. All those things matter. And even like my audience, we are instilling in them the responsibility to vote. So anything like this one talks about, it says voting. And so this really interests me. And I like that it is a picture book. Why? Because we have such a variety of literature abilities in our circle. We don't know, and we're not their, educators per se, but we want to make everybody comfortable. So a book like this would be actually piques my interest. And I'm going to watch the workshop recording. What a great resource. So thank you.
No, thank you, Monica. I will now pass it on to Maddie.
Hello all, I'm Maddie. I'm a first year graduate student with the Master of Latin American Studies program, and I'm the newest addition to the team. So I'll be talking about two different lesson plans today. The first about Afro-Latinidad. So this lesson is designed to follow Common Core standards, and it's ideal for grades 9 through 10, just because some of the material mentions some violent things. So something to keep in mind. Content areas include social studies, English language arts, Mexico and Central America and the Caribbean. And it uses the documentary Yanga's Freedom Cry, a film from Veracruz, to tell Yanga's story and why it is important to Latin America as a whole. And the documentary is about 25 minutes, so it's easy to sort of fit into a classroom setting, and should be followed by discussion and short answer questions. So this is a big major themes lesson plan, and it's a great way to help students connect what they're learning through a specific example to sort of go a bigger focus and look how it applies to all of Latin America. Because what we're really talking about is the African diaspora in Latin America through an examination of Yanga, which is a big theme. And because of that theme, it can be kind of intimidating in its complexity to try and teach in a classroom setting. So the goal is through these resources, you'll have the tools and materials necessary to teach this sort of big picture idea. And our goal here is to reveal that through this little known, what has been hidden history, that African culture and traditions have permeated Latin America for hundreds of years, actually, and only recently have countries really started to acknowledge the history and talk about it more. And since we're a small group, rather than go into the discussion questions, I thought it would be cool to watch a little bit of the documentary because I watched it earlier this morning. It's really cool. So if you can go to 1351, is where we can start. It'll kind of give you a little teaser. Even if you don't teach the lesson or alter it a little bit, still watch the documentary if you get a chance.
Jasmine, you may need, I don't think we can hear it. You may need to stop sharing and then reshare, kind of clicking the box at the bottom where it says share audio. Or optimize for video clip or something. Something along those lines.
Let me see. Okay. So do you know how to optimize for the video clip? You know what I can do is I could just click the link and jump out of the PowerPoint and play it via YouTube, or
that should work also. But I think with Zoom you need to give it permission to share the audio. Yeah, so if you hit reshare, if you hit share screen again, you know when that little like pop-up box comes up?
oh, share sound.
Yeah, there we go.
Optimize video clip. Hey, we're on to something, y'all. We're gonna do it. Okay. All right. So tell me if you can hear the audio on this.
A tener un lugar donde vivir y poderse desarrollar en paz. Por lo tanto, Yanga es el pionero en toda América en la lucha de los derechos humanos.
Yanga, lamentablemente, es un personaje poco conocido. A Yanga se le conoce desde la época colonial, pero es hasta finales del siglo XIX cuando la historia es retomada por el escritor Vicente Rivapalacio, descendiente de general Vicente Guerrero. Él escribe una obra titulada Los 33 Negros, donde relata la saga de Yanga en la lucha por conseguir la libertad de los cimarrones que habitaban esta región a finales del siglo XVI.
Necesitamos luchar, alzar la voz, pelear por lo que es nuestro, luchar por nuestros derechos, y yo creo que Yanga nos ha dado el mejor ejemplo. hay un mural muy bonito y me da gusto que se le haya reconocido. Hay un mural muy bonito en la Ciudad de México con los héroes de la independencia y Yanga es uno de ellos. Es un héroe de la independencia, es un héroe de México y del mundo.
Hay un mural en el Palacio Legislativo en donde están próceres de nuestro país, está incluso Sor Juana Inés de la Cruz, y antes está Cuauhtémoc y en medio de ellos el Yanga.
Es una sintonía. La sintonía, mira, aquí están plasmados las notas musicales, los instrumentos musicales, que es la marimba, y el principal, que es el negro yanga, que está desprendiéndose de la...
Sí, claro, yo creo que hay un montón de mensajes de Yanga para todo México y pues sí, siento que el mensaje más importante para México que tiene este pueblo es la libertad, el siempre ser auténtico, que no importa que tan pequeño parezca, así puedes resurgir y puedes renacer.
El restaurante su nombre lleva el nombre de Yambara, que es el nombre de la tribu del negro Yanga, de aquí de nuestro pueblo.
En el espíritu cimarrón, en el palenque defendido, en el palenque victorioso y en el primer pueblo libre de América, Yanga.
Cuando canto la bamba me siento.
Yeah, it's very intoxicating. I want to sit and watch the whole thing.
I know.
Yeah, and there are subtitles on the video. You can't see here, but if you have people with different language levels, then there are subtitles. So, and yeah, that's all I have on Yanga. If you want to go to the next slide, I can talk about another lesson plan. So I recently went through all of the resources that we have, which takes a very long time, and sorted all of the different content areas that they're in. And this lesson plan really stood out to me. I noticed it had a lot of transnational themes and connections that I think it's really important for students to make. And so this is really why I chose this one as one of my favorites. It centers on South America and social studies, and it's ideal for grades 7 through 9, but it can be adapted, I think, also for a bit of an older audience as well. So this lesson plan is on the arpilleras in Chile and their quilt making practice. So it includes hands-on activities to try and bring the discussion of arpilleras into the classroom. So the lesson first provides a short overview of the significance of arpilleras in Chilean history. And this is followed by an examination of quilting's gendered history and its role in the African-American community through comparative poetry, which is very cool. From Marjorie Agosin's poem, The Arpillerista, and Cynthia Grady's poem, Basket. It also includes links to supplementary resources and related lesson plans. So this is, you may start here in this conversation in your classroom, but you can continue it onto future lesson plans and make other links. As a teaser, I wanted to include part of the lesson plan. I noted this quote when I was going through it, and this is in reference to the debated factualness of the use of quilt symbols along the Underground Railroad. What is important for this post is that regardless of whether these symbols were actually used in the railroad, they have become part of modern symbolic language among some African-American quilters. In the modern version, these elements are used to tell the story of escape to freedom. In this way, they serve a new purpose that can be deconstructed through the quilt code, but do not necessarily have to reflect an actual historical reality or worse, exotica for capitalist gain. Instead, they can be seen as re-territorialization from a largely white imaginary of Black quilting forms into one of African-American storytelling. So I think this is a great lesson plan to sort of make those transnational connections between Chile and the United States and touch on some really important themes that I think it's becoming more and more welcome for students to talk about, and we should have more of those conversations. And I'm going to put the link to this in the chat. There you go. So you all can check it out. Yeah. And if we have time, I can talk about the next lesson plan. It's okay? Okay, sure. This is a bit of an older lesson plan. So something to keep in mind when we're looking at this is what are ways that we can differentiate this for our classroom, and how can we sort of focus on the questioning of historical assumptions when we're talking about these lessons. So it's adopted from a GLAD strategy, and it uses a pictorial input chart, mind map, and Venn diagram comparing Columbus and a Taino person, with the goal of, you know, encouraging students to have their own discussions about the differences and also the assumptions that come along with these different identities. Give you a little sneak preview of what's to come. Well, as we find our way through the PowerPoint, I'll just put the link in the chat to the last lesson plan I talked about. And yes, this is for grades 5 to 7. And it centers on social studies, Mexico, Central America, and the Caribbean. So with that, I'll pass it on to Emmy.
Thanks so much, Maddie. So we are coming to a close-ish. Couple things before we go. We do have various social media kind of presences, shall I say. The Latin American Iberian Institute is on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. YouTube is where we post the recordings of both our K-12 events, as well as other events the Latin American and Iberian Institute runs, for kind of more, say, general and or academic audience. We invite you to check those out, interact with us, give us a follow. It would be lovely to see you all on there. And now to kind of give you a general idea of where we're going for the rest of the semester. Next weekend, next Saturday at noon, we have a Dia de los Muertos workshop at Hubble Gutierrez House in the South Valley, or Gutierrez Hubble House, excuse me, in the South Valley. In this workshop, we're going to be kind of giving an overview of Dia de los Muertos, as well as running a kind of interactive art activity. It is also tied to an exhibit that is going on at Gutierrez Hubble House called Ofrendas Comunitarias Muertos y Marigolds, which is a community curated exhibit of altars commemorating Dia de los Muertos. So we will be there next Saturday at noon if you'd like to join us for some hands-on artistic fun, and hopefully, if everything works out, some networking and snacks afterwards. So that is happening next Saturday. And looking forward to the beginning of November, on November 5th, also a Saturday, if I remember correctly, we will be running a educator workshop in collaboration with 516 Arts, which is downtown Albuquerque on Central. This workshop is being developed in conjunction with an exhibit that's currently running at 516 around Minerva Cuevas's art entitled Migratory. We're still working on what this workshop is going to look like, but that lesson plan or podcast guide that Jasmine mentioned regarding This American Life episode around kind of the border, we'll present that there along with some other things that are still in development. And then right now, of course, we have all sorts of resources available for you all to check out. And then looking towards next semester, we're already looking towards 2023, which is a little bit intimidating, I'm not gonna lie. But in the spring semester, we're hoping to provide a workshop on teaching about and incorporating primary sources into the classroom, as well as some other collaborations that we're currently working on. So loads of exciting things to kind of get into. Before we go, I did want to give Monica and Helen a chance to introduce themselves. Where do you teach? What brought you to this workshop? I know that's kind of already been done to a certain extent, but please feel free to share anything extra that you would like to share. And also kind of what LAII K-12 resources have you used in the classroom, and or which workshops have you attended in the past? We'd love to know how we can best serve you.
Well, thank you for this overview. I attended workshops before the pandemic in person at the Institute, several of them, and sometimes you had them at the Hispanic Cultural Center as well. So I attended them there. I'm always looking for art projects to do with students. Whoops, something's coming up with my Zoom. You can still hear me and see me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm always looking for art projects and connections to literature. So thank you so much.
Good to know. Thank you. Thanks so much for being here. Monica.
Hi, everyone. Like I shared earlier, I'm the director of a youth mentoring program in Albuquerque. We teach and mentor youth, 6th graders to graduating seniors in high school as they go on to their career pathway or college. But during the day, I work for the state of New Mexico with statewide supporting educators through their teacher evaluation process. So as we move through the school year and teachers use me as a resource, and as we intersect in the state of New Mexico, addressing disparities in inclusive education, which brought us to the Martinez-Yazzie lawsuit and rulings, our state is really leaning in and paying a lot more attention to high quality instructional materials and those that are inclusive of culture and language, home cultures and home languages. So I saw a real opportunity to join the Teacher Advisory Committee. I am a past educator in the state of California. I was a middle school social studies and English teacher. So I very quickly learned how the two intersect very nicely. They're not siloed, but in fact intersect very nicely. And so I think being a part of this is so important to get the word out. I think, like New Mexico, living in New Mexico is one of the best kept secrets, and we want to keep it that way. That's not the case for LAII. We want to spread the word. And I also sit on the board for the Hispanic Heritage Committee, which right now is in full swing with their activities. However, all year long, okay, they plan and support and promote all kinds of educational and cultural endeavors for the state of New Mexico. So I'm very much going to, I guess I have an open-ended question. Do we as LAII reps get our hands in there at the Hispanic Heritage Committee? I'm now attending the meetings there on Thursdays. Again, they're packed to the hilt. They're doing all these activities, and they're going to have a Cultura y Corazón award show, which they have every year, by the way. And I wonder how much of a presence we have, because if we partnered with them, they always love partnerships, right? And I don't know that because they need to hear about what we do here. They really do.
Yeah, thank you very much for mentioning that, Monica. I don't think I've ever heard of the Hispanic Heritage Committee. I made a note. I will check with my coworkers and see if we have some maybe kind of relationship with them that I'm not aware of that occurred before I joined. But I would be very interested in knowing more about what they do and potentially getting involved and partnering. Thank you very much for bringing them up. I know I have an outstanding email from you in my inbox I need to reply to, but I will definitely incorporate my questions regarding them.
I know we're busy bees, but you know what? If we do little by little drops in the bucket, fill the bucket too, right? And we're here for the long term. So I'm happy to partner. I plan on, I mean, unless something even more amazing happens, staying in New Mexico, lifelong resident. And I just love anything that promotes our culture and that we can share out. And so that New Mexico can be quite the model and quite the hosting state even for these kind of discussions and promotion of all peoples. And I really do appreciate today's the grito from Gaspar, right? Here's why. Our organization is endeavoring to be set apart by our cultural awareness and self-identity, creating that and growing in there. If we, absent of that, we become not unkindly, but we become just like any other group that meets and does crafts or, learns about leadership, which are great things, but we can set ourselves apart, and our mission is to set ourselves apart as having this rich cultural tie. Lately, we've been bringing in young ladies who are Afro-Latinas, both which exited out because they can enter or exit. And I know that how profound it would have been to see anything that says me, because the rest of us look kind of, that Hispanic lean. And those girls, they've got to find their place and their voice. And just seeing that today, Madeline, thank you for sharing that, because everyone should feel celebrated and see themselves in whatever we're sharing at these meetings. So thank you.
No, thank you, Monica. Yeah, a lot to think about, and thank you very much for that feedback. Also, that's very helpful for us, especially as we, as we look towards the next semester and plan how we can best serve our audiences. And thank you very much for the Hispanic Heritage Committee kind of name. I will definitely be looking them up and reaching out about them.
And come get on the teacher advisory. We need you next meeting. You got to be there.
Which we need to schedule.
Yeah, we do. Whenever that is, you're invited. We would love to have you. Yeah. And anyone else that you think would, bring strengths and ideas and creativity and expand more. That's awesome. Thank you, everyone, for being here.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. Few last minute things before we go. Jasmine, if you don't mind sharing the PowerPoint again, mainly so I know what I'm talking about, because I do need my notes. Thank you. Last minute things before we go. We do have a LinkedIn page, or the Institute does as a whole, not just our K-12 initiatives, but as a whole, we have a LinkedIn page. We also have a contact us form on the website that you may have seen. On the left-hand side there, if you're not already on our email list, for those watching, particularly the recording afterwards, if you're not already on our email list, please do kind of sign up if you wish. We don't send out too many emails. We basically send out once a month. We send out a kind of general monthly newsletter, and then perhaps a couple reminders throughout the month as we kind of move towards events. But we also share stuff kind of from beyond the LAII on that monthly newsletter, all related to kind of educator endeavors, both from other NRCs, from the Department of Education, from allied organizations inside New Mexico and outside New Mexico, and things like that. Last thing before we go, we do, as educators, love exit tickets. So we've got an exit ticket for you. If you're here, basically Monica and Helen. We would love for you to fill it out if you have the time, just so we know again how we can best serve you. And thank you very much for being here. We are, among the two of you, going to have a draw for an Office Depot gift card. And that'll be announced, and you'll be notified by email next week on Monday when I'm back in the office on that. But more than anything, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for attending. Thank you, Maddie and Jasmine, for the fantastic presentations and for running the show and running the back end. I really appreciate it. And we hope to see you all at a workshop or something similar that the LAII is putting on in the future. Have a great rest of your weekend. Thank you so much.
Thank you all very much, everyone.
Is that exit ticket in the chat?
It is. Yes.
It's the
Is
last
it
link.
the last, oh, is it, which one is it?
Go ahead,
has-
Maddie, sorry.
It has office in the title.
Is it forms.office? I just clicked on that one and I didn't have permission to.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, that is my fault. Do you know what? I will change the permission to make sure that everyone has permission to access it, and I'll send it through via email. You'll be getting a follow-up email on Monday with a copy of this presentation, and I'll change the permissions on that. But thank you very much for reading that.
Thank you. Look for
Okay,
the email.
thank you. Take
Thank
care.
you. Take
Bye,
care.
everyone.
This weekend.
Have a good weekend.